Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television News for all those watching around Zambia and across the world. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present. And our top stories in the news tonight: UPND youth leadership distances itself from protesting KANYAMA youths. Chieftainess MPASHYA calls on government to prepare relief food for her subjects. Government urged to increase the education and health budgetary allocation in 2023. In international news, Senegal's president names first premier since 2019. And in sports news, Zambia bags 4 gold and 3 bronze medals at the African Boxing Championships.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Hello once again, another news in detail. Persons with cross-cutting disabilities who were camping at the Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities ZAPID offices in Lusaka have lamented the manner in which the paramilitary officers Saturday manhandled them in an effort to remove them from the place they have been camping for almost 2 months now. One of the affected people has lamented to Camnet News that she has suffered a swollen knee after one of the officers dragged her naked from where she was bathing and in the process ending up hitting her knee. More in this report.
Persons living with cross-cutting disabilities who have in the past 2 months been camping at the Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities offices seeking audience with the President Hakainde Hichilema over what they term mismanagement of resources by the agency were Saturday removed from the premises by the paramilitary officers and were dumped at a military base in the showgrounds in Lusaka. The affected have since lamented the manner in which they were manhandled by the paramilitary, who they accused that they assaulted them while a woman who was taking a bath at the time says she was dragged naked from a place where she was taking a bath.
Noko tuwafika kwa extent imyenshi ibili tuwafika na kwa extent ya kututumina wa paramilitari ukisa mkutu wikata pankanda ndesamba ndi ubwambo muntu kwisa mukunjimya kwati katwishi kwati ndiule bansanga fe mtaveni waundi n'abana bengi mambya abana mapastors banina ku school naseba nokusebani n'ekyalo ba president chichena ngatamwachite feta mwatumfwe nshishibe obutungulusho bomulipo nga bwabatuntulu beka nshishibe.
Meanwhile, Street Vendor Organization of Persons with Disabilities chairperson Peter Nkunika says he does not understand why ZAPID hired other people with cross-cutting disabilities to go and fight them so that police can be called upon to manhandle them. He says all that they are fighting for is a noble call to have the resources donated to ZAPID by international donors be put to good use, and says they will not stop protesting until the president addresses them.
They only said that let's go to showground, that's where you'll be addressed from. So we tried to resist to say that we can't go that side. Why can't they address here? They told us that there is nothing we can hear from you. So for us, we complied with them until they dropped us showground as if we are cattle grazing the green grass. So, as our demonstration is not going to end, it will only end when the president attend to us.
Meanwhile, Euphrasia Lupia, the chairperson of the group, says those who are physically challenged currently working in the government should, instead of fighting them, join hands to ensure that persons living with cross-cutting disabilities are respected, including by decision makers.
If you are not mona, if I'm to rasi, Mulay Miabadi, Muadeka Bakapukola, Mwai Miafestaba, the man of an ins. Ugwatu ise tuledo, aida tuledo, anchi bakapukola balelo lela padi aba paramilitary. Dida bamonati bambo kuisa mkutu wikata moimwelo mwafumano bakutampo kusunka abantu. Aba adesa mboko bemi obwamba palapu adesa mbiro mwa mkumuninika. Ero badi amwale imya ni banyinenu. Tekwati ngatuale mana tuakano kupero mchinji.
And we reported the issue to Levy Goma at State House. From there, we have been there at Sapid for almost a month now, a month plus. Now, the report hasn't reached the president. Why? Mr. President, we are appealing to you, we want to see you physically so that our issues can be addressed and crossed.
These 55 persons living with cross-cutting disabilities have vowed to never stop protesting until Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema gives them the audience. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Child rights champion Mutinta Twambo has called for officers of guidance and counseling in schools to be strengthened so that they adequately handle matters of child sexual abuse. In an interview, Mr. Twambo says recent incidents of child sexual abuse in the country reaffirm the need for Zambia to do more in child protection and child safeguarding. He adds that there is a need to ensure that even children in correctional facilities are protected, as these are more prone to such vices. Statistics from the Zambia Police for the second quarter of 2022 show that 1,910 children were abused countrywide. A number of sodomy sexual cases have also been recorded in the country.
There's a serious desire by all the champions of children's rights to see to it that the child code bill comes into light, because this is the law that is going to codify all the 21 pieces of legislation around the children. As you may be aware, the status of Zambia in terms of child protection, child safeguarding is very low in Africa. Zambia is one of the unsafe places for a child to live in. And having this law coming into parliament so that it becomes the law to codify all the pieces of legislation that have to do with ensuring that the children are protected, ensuring that there is child protection systems, ensuring that there are child safeguarding systems in both the public and private institutions, and also to ensure that there are very clear reporting mechanisms for the children. And more important, to see to that the children in correctional facilities also live in a safe manner. They are not harmed by any forces in those areas. And basically, just to see to that we have a country that is also going to ensure that the legal definition of a child is well defined, and also the perpetrators of the various forms of abuse of harm to the children can easily be brought to book. It's an excitement to us as members of parliament. It's an excitement to us as parents. And we strongly feel this bill, it should come into law as soon so that we see to that the children's lives are protected against any harm.
Western Province Minister Kapelwa Mbangweta says all clinics that will be constructed using the Constituency Development Fund CDF in Western Province will have maternity wards to cut down on maternal mortality rates in the province. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Mbangweta notes that pregnant women have for a long time been subjected to walking long distances just to access basic maternity services, which should be within their reach from their village settlements. Meanwhile, Mr. Mbangweta says a number of roads have been earmarked for construction, among them the Secheke Livingstone Road and the Mongo Lusaka Road. He notes that this will ease the burden of transportation on dilapidated roads, adding that this will also allow farmers to reach markets in good time to sell their produce.
So for CDF is to ensure that each clinic, where there's a clinic, there must be a maternity ward. 2, there must be running water. The same for where there are schools, where there is an association to build something. This government has been working on the Mulunga, Mongu road is being tarmacked. It was a project which was literally abandoned. This government has been working on the Sioma Shangombo Road. We are almost done graveling it. So now you can go to Shangombo from Mongu the same day and come back, which was not possible. We are also working on the Mlobedi Simgoma Road. That also substantial progress has been achieved. Like I also indicated there, that we are going to put up a bridge on the Lwanginga River to facilitate access to the Liwa National Park between the Kalavo and the Liwa side. Yeah. So those are some of the projects which the government is working on.
Leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Mundubile, has charged that appointing cadres as permanent secretaries was the #1 mistake President Hakainde Hichilema made. Mr. Mundubile says a permanent secretary is a controlling officer of any ministry and says the government is now failing to deliver to the people's expectation because it has employed controlling officers who have no qualifications for the positions that they have been appointed to. Mr. Mundubile, who is also presidential hopeful, has wondered why the head of state has been encouraging civil servants to advance their careers if at all their efforts cannot be rewarded through promotions. The lawmaker says the government should learn to differentiate between politicking and national economic matters if they are to succeed in what they are doing.
The president was addressing Parliament the other day and he was talking about human development. We want to talk about free education, colleagues, and we're excited about it. But let's go fast forward. What's the end point for these children who are in school today? You want them to go through secondary school, university and college and be able to develop a career. But what for? If politicians can just walk in and not consider a civil servant who has worked for 25 years, devoted service to this nation for 25 years and removed for no reason, on mere suspicion that they supported PF. And in their position, you bring some indisciplined former civil servants who were discharged on disciplinary action, bring them back to say they were removed because they were supporting UPND. What problem have you solved? Replacing a civil servant that was suspected to be supporting a political party with another one who is supporting a political party. The point there to take is that our civil service is completely destroyed. And I'm getting back to you, the media. Go back to the people that have been removed in those positions. Look at their resume. Look at their background. You find that President Edgar Chagwalungu was actually appointing them from the civil service. He was merely elevating them to directors, permanent secretaries. In the case of a new dawn, everybody is new. There are too many outsiders. Don't be surprised why government programs can't function, because there are just too many outsiders coming to head institutions, sensitive institutions.
United Party for National Development, UPND Deputy National Youth Chairperson Trevor Mwinde has regretted the protest by the youths in Kanyama against the party election chairman Gary Nkombo and the call for a new Secretary General. In an interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Mwinde says the party has the right channels to use when one is aggrieved, advising the youths to use the right channels. He notes that election loss in Luangwa is sad for the party, but that lessons have been learned, hoping for better next time. He has since called for unity in the party and that people should avoid insinuating that President Hakainde Hichilema does not have grassroots support. More in this report.
United Party for National Development youths in Kanyama constituency Saturday protested against what they called anomalies in the party, among them the directive by election chairperson Gary Nkombo that all party offices in markets be removed and a serious call for the replacement of the party Secretary General Patoke Imenda with Lusaka Province Chairperson Obvious Mwali Teta. According to the youths, this uncoordinated leadership resulted in the loss of the Luangwa chairperson by-election last week.
Stimufuna is a mayusi. Then Stimufuna by SG kutibaichechana bapitirize. Mwari teta isetifuna utaichechana taking over aziba problem yabandani ya mayuts background.
However, UPND Deputy National Youth Chairperson Trevor Mwinde tells Camnet News that the protest is regrettable, urging the youths to engage the party if they are aggrieved.
Support His Excellency the President, and if you have got issues, let us go and address with him in a very mature and stable manner without demonizing anybody. The same women that they are talking about, Secretary General, is a Secretary General who helped us win, because he was a national coordinator of the polling station management systems across the country. So we want to believe that we have had an amicable, good working relationship, and the president is watching and he's listening. We want to distance ourselves as youth leadership from all such youths that have taken the role of cadres who want to bring confusion and topple leadership. I don't think, because today it can be on the SG, tomorrow it will be on me. So we don't want to copy the PF style of leadership, that which saw the hounding out of Winter Gabimba. In UPND, the methods and the culture of work is very different.
Mr. Mwinde also says the party functionaries should remain united and support the vision of President Hakainde Hichilema and the people he has charged responsibility with.
As we will be able to take punitive measures, but for youths that are not in the structures will not be in the position to take punitive measures. But the party leadership will sit down and make a roadmap, and the public will be made aware very soon. And I want to also say that we are calling for unity amongst all our structures, and we believe in the youth leadership, we believe in the women folk leadership and every other person across the country. And dear Zambians, His Excellency the President and the leadership of the party will sit and create a roadmap.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A University of Zambia historian, Bizek Perry, has urged political parties to stop the trend of ferrying political party cadres from Lusaka City to areas where there are by-elections, stating that this is the root cause of political violence. In an interview, Professor Perry asked that Zambia cannot continue entertaining reports of political violence, stating that the perpetrators in the Luangwa Council by-elections need to be set as an example for all future offenders. He was speaking in reference to the political happenings reported in the Luangwa Council chairperson by-elections that political party supporters from the United Party for National Development, UPND, Socialist Party, and the Patriotic Front collided, leading to vehicles being damaged and some people being hospitalized. More in this report.
Just when citizens thought the trend of political violence was lessening due to reduced reports, the Luangwa Council chairperson by-elections contested on 15 September 2022 have shown that Zambia is far from winning this battle. Footage from the elections shows damaged vehicles and people hospitalized in an alleged collision of political rivals. Three political parties, namely the United Party for National Development UPND, the Socialist Party SP, and the Patriotic Front PF, have been named in the alleged political violence, with each political party playing blame games. In an interview, a historian at the University of Zambia, Bizek Perry, says the trend of political violence is not something that should be witnessed in Zambia's political space.
We are seeing some political parties ferrying cadres from other areas to other areas, and these are the people that generate violence, because people from within the same area, even when they belong to different political parties, they don't actually fight amongst themselves. It's people that come from outside because they don't relate with the people they've come across, and that's how we're seeing this violence. So my appeal as a citizen is that our leaders, they should avoid this challenge or this issue of carrying cadres from one area to another in the name of going to campaign, particularly on a day of voting. Because on a day of voting, it's only those people that reside in those areas that will be voting.
Meanwhile, Anti-Political Violence Association of Zambia APVA Secretary General Davis Zulu has also spoken out.
Just from the first day he was elected as president, he denounced tribalism and violence. So as Zambians, let's not engage ourselves into political violence. Because if we engage ourselves into political violence, this country, we are going to lose out in so many things. We are going to scare away investors to invest in our country.
The duo have called for perpetrators to be brought to book to strongly warn others going forward. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Chieftainess MPASHYA of the Soli people of Rufunsa district says the poor harvest experienced in her chiefdom owing to poor rainfall patterns in the 2021-2022 farming season may result in a situation of hunger if urgent action to address the situation is not taken from the government. Speaking during the Chiwela Kumushi traditional ceremony Saturday, in a speech read on her behalf by Princess Mwangala Chakalashi, the chieftainess has also urged civic and traditional leaders to promote education, stating that many parents in her chiefdom are not taking their children to school despite the free education policy. The Chiwela Kumushi ceremony celebrates the successful farming period and return to the village from the farming fields and is celebrated by the Soli people every year. More in this report.
After not being celebrated for 2 years due to the coronavirus pandemic, hundreds were packed at the MPASHYA Royal Establishment in Rufunsa District Saturday to witness the commemoration of the Chiwela Kumushi traditional ceremony that was graced by Her Royal Highness Chieftainess MPASHYA of the Soli people. The traditional ceremony was not short of various traditional dances.
Walaingiringa wa mama wa chieftainess wetu wa MPASHYA.
Speaking at the ceremony through her private secretary Princess Mwangala Chakalashi, Chieftainess MPASHYA has urged government to quickly mitigate the looming hunger in the district due to climate change effects on crops. She has further called for the completion of abandoned school projects to ensure that all pupils in a chiefdom have classroom space, while calling for sensitization of parents to take advantage of the free education policy by taking their children to school.
My concern relates to some parents within my chiefdom that I see not willing to take their children back to school, even amidst the pronouncement of such a beautiful policy at play. We will endeavor to support your government by ensuring that all our subjects do take advantage of this policy by getting their children back to school. I must hasten to mention here that apart from the many positive strides that have come with this policy, there seems to be somewhat a renewed pressure on the existing school infrastructure in the chiefdom, given a huge number of pupils enrolling back into school.
Meanwhile, Lusaka Province Minister, who is also a Rufunsa Member of Parliament and was guest of honor at the ceremony, Sheo Muliata, says government has taken into account the challenges raised.
It is government's desire to work with traditional leaders in promoting rural development.
Speaking at the ceremony, Senior Headman for Nyampande John Mambo has urged investors in the mining sector to make sure that locals benefit from the mineral resources.
You cannot work in an area and see the people of that area not benefiting, whether you have a mine or you have whatever. If that is done, we shall pack your bags and you go back where you're from. In short, we'll have investors, we'll have all over doing things in the area. But there's a language in Zambia, all such.
Locals also took advantage of the ceremony to show seed varieties that they're cultivating as one way of fighting climate change. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Rufunsa District.
This is Camnet Television News. We take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We continue with Camnet Television News. The non-governmental gender organization coordinating Council NGOCC has urged the government to ensure that spending to the health and education sector is increased. NGOCC Executive Director Anne Anamela says the country has had challenges with medical equipment and medication in health facilities, which the government should pay more attention to, even as the International Monetary Fund has come in. Mrs. Anamela also says inasmuch as the government has introduced free education in schools, it should ensure that quality education is delivered to the learners if the impact of free education is to be felt. She says the IMF program should not come to take away from the poor but give back to the communities.
The targeting mechanisms must ensure that they're targeting the correct people so that the most vulnerable are not subject to external shocks that adversely affect their lives. And would also want to ensure that spending to the education sector and spending to health are also protected and enhanced. We've had issues around especially the lack of medical equipment and medication in the hospitals. That needs to be addressed. We've had issues of free education, very, very good, but the issues around the quality of education, all those need financing. So we do hope that even with this program that we've entered into, the focus on some of the very pertinent areas of social sector spending will be kept and enhanced.
Center for Environment Justice, CAJ, has observed that Zambia's environmental protection agenda can only succeed if traditional leaders are embraced because they own over 60% of customary land. CEJ Board Chairperson Vincent Ziba revealed that CEJ had since set a special caucus for traditional leaders to brainstorm ideas on environmental protection at a side event during the 2022 Environmental Protection Dialogue, EPD. Meanwhile, Mr. Ziba has recalled that since its inaugural dialogue in 2020, the EPD had become an important environmental calendar event of the year in Zambia. He has underscored that the theme, which is strong actions for environmental sustainability, would seek to strengthen the Environmental Protection Fund and mitigating climate crisis. Mr. Ziba pointed out that CEJ, in conjunction with the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, was calling on stakeholders to identify lasting solutions to strengthening the Environmental Protection Fund, EPF, and mitigating the climate crisis.
This one, the way we have designed it, it's going to have three side events where the traditional leaders on their own will have an opportunity to discuss as traditional leaders. As you know, most of the land in this country is under customary rule with the traditional leadership, which means a lot of environmental issues are of great concern on customary land and brings in the picture of traditional leaders as the major stakeholders. So given they need to be given an opportunity to brainstorm around the issues of environment in their own understanding and what kind of challenges and opportunities they see forth.
Flexi Learn, a newly launched education application loaded with courses aimed at improving learning through service and technology, has been added to the enhancement of education in Zambia. Speaking on the sidelines of the app launch, FlexiLearn Senior Vice President Dr. Nelly Kangwa says the vision of coming up with such an application is anchored on three main pillars, which is to promote frictionless online and digital learning for all students in Zambia. Dr. Kangwa also says the app will enable all learners to access online learning content at any age and time from anywhere cost-effectively. Meanwhile, FlexiLearn founder and president Dr. Akinimo Odom says the application will open doors to new graduates who will acquire hands-on knowledge on how to go about the job market and entrepreneurial stage without any hassles. He says if the African content mostly youthful is to realize its potential, applications like FlexiLearn should be used to equip oneself with extra knowledge. And an app user, Ngambo Nankonde, says the application has opened many doors for her personal growth.
Which is going to be an answer mostly to the students, also to the professionals, because we believe that most of the times when a student has spent about 4 years at university, when he finishes school, he will be languishing in the streets because industry is looking for experience and they don't know how to get that experience. And so this app is going to provide a lot of guidance on how a student can prepare themselves before they get into the industry. So we are trying to bridge that gap that students have been having. So we've got FlexiLearn with over 50, sessions that have been tailor-made, answering to the needs of the students.
Find a specific space in Africa's educational system, both at secondary school level, vocational schools, universities, whether it's colleges, polytechnics. And the space is the fact that very rarely do you find a university, a school or college that has got a robust and credible career unit. And it makes no sense because the ultimate reason why students go to school in the first place is to be released into the world of work where career understanding is important. So it's like almost like it's counterproductive to everything we do. So we're saying, wait a minute, if Africa will be productive and our young people are our assets and resources, then fixing that problem of giving that access to resource, training, capacity building, guidance, support for career departments of universities and colleges and schools is absolutely crucial. That's what the app is about.
This program had opened me to so many opportunities because it goes right into your soul. You start identifying what really makes you tick, what makes you really, really happy. And when you look at the giftings that you have and you have not utilized because you've been so busy in the corporate world doing your everyday work, and you have the opportunity to put that aside and follow your dreams, your passions, it's amazing.
This is Camnet Television News. We take a second and final break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
And now in international news, Senegal President Macky Sall on Saturday named a new Prime Minister, a position he abolished in 2019 and reinstated last year after July's 10th legislative elections. A presidential decree named Amadou Ba, a former foreign affairs minister, as the new premier of the divided country 5 days after the return of parliament, which was marked by a series of incidents and carried out under heavy security. Ba has served under Sall as finance minister since 2013 and 2019 before becoming foreign minister in 2019 until 2020. Sall promised to appoint a figure from the winning party in the polls. His coalition narrowly won the election but was only able to keep its absolute majority with the support of an opposition MP. In a speech to the nation broadcast on Friday, Sall said the new prime minister would be responsible for addressing the rising cost of living. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Senegal's President Macky Sall on Saturday named the new Prime Minister, a position he abolished in 2019 and reinstated last year. A presidential decree named Amadou Ba, a former foreign minister, as the new premier of the West African country. The head of state has chosen Mr. Amadou Ba for his competence, his commitment, his dedication, his pragmatism, and his efficiency.
Son pragmatisme et son efficacité.
Ba has also served as finance minister in Sall's government. Rumored to be preparing a bid for a third term in 2024, President Macky Sall's coalition won a narrow majority in July's parliamentary elections.
Britain's National Health Service is experiencing its longest waiting times on record as tests and treatments put on hold through the pandemic work their way through the system. On Monday, thousands of appointments have been postponed for the public holiday of the Queen's funeral.
I had an appointment cancelled on Monday, so I came up today, and I think that's fine. I'm glad that they were able to see me at a different time so quickly.
If I was a cancer patient, I'd be really, really upset. And I do understand why, because everyone wants to pay their respect to the Queen. I don't know what the right answer is.
I've just had my bloods done because I didn't think they'd be open on Monday. I think it's very unfortunate that that's happened.
Emergency treatments and urgent procedures will still go ahead as planned, but reduced staffing means many other appointments will be hit. Family doctor appointments will also suffer, with many medical centres shut for the day.
Obviously, as NHS is obliged to go by the national holidays, at the same time, we have to look after our patients. So we are sort of stuck in the middle where we have to both respect the public opinion as well as the government opinion, for example. And so I think, it's probably a very difficult situation that the NHS is in at the moment.
And as the country prepares for the Queen's funeral, others are being put on hold. Funeral director Francis Alcock has seen one planned ceremony on Monday postponed for fear it would be overshadowed and that people might not come. She says she's heard of other families, especially those who've booked cremations, having funerals cancelled against their wishes.
The feeling is that, if it's their mum that's died, their mum is more important to them than the Queen, however much they love the Queen. And because of the monumental grief around, it's sort of taken away some of the I suppose, how they feel they can grieve.
For an event on this scale, one day of national pause will widely be seen as appropriate. But for those who've been negotiating the delays and backlogs of a COVID-hit health service, that one day could have been a much-prized knee surgery or cancer treatment. At the very least, it's a reminder that the multiple problems this government faces will remain after the mourning period ends, and they'll need to be dealt with. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, London.
A powerful typhoon.
Let's have some sports news now. And our sports news, the Zambia boxing team has bagged 7 medals at the African Boxing Championship in Maputo, Mozambique. The 4 athletes who bagged medals includes Margaret Tembo in minimum weight, Felicitas Nkandu in lightweight, Patrick Chinyemba in flyweight, and Andrew Chilata in lightweight. Meanwhile, bronze medalists included Elizabeth Perry in flyweight, Juliana Kasonka in featherweight, and Ben Banda in featherweight. Medalists at the Continental Championship will receive prize money worth 10,000 United States dollars for winning gold, 5,000 United States dollars for winning silver, and 2,500 United States dollars for winning bronze. Boxers from the 27 countries competed in the African Men's and Women's Boxing Championship, which commenced from the 8th September to the 18th of September 2022. To end Camnet television news, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. UPND youth leadership distances itself from protesting KANYAMA youths. Chieftainess MPASHYA calls on government to prepare relief food for her subjects. Government urged to increase the education and health budgetary allocation in 2023. In international news, Senegal's president names first premier since 2019. And in sports news, Zambia bags 4 gold and 3 bronze medals in the African Boxing Championship. Our Camnet verse for the day this evening is coming from Philippians 2, verse 3 to 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interest, but also to the interests of others. Thank you once again for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.